Hi, folks. Chris Voss here from the ChrisVossShow.com, the ChrisVossShow.com. Hey, we're coming here with another podcast. We certainly appreciate you guys tuning in. You guys make wonderful guests for us. Be sure to give us a like, subscribe us on YouTube, hit that bell notification button, go to iTunes and Google Play, and subscribe there if you would, and invite some of your friends or refer some people. We certainly appreciate it. Also, go to patreon.com/Chris Voss, and you can, of course, see us on the ChrisVossShow.com. Got an interesting guest today, and gentleman by the name of James Dailey. He writes things under the name Jerome Wetzel. One such thing is It's Been Done Radio Hour, which he created in 2015 and is currently running monthly at Mad Lab. Because of all the talented people he came in contact with through IABD, he now runs an entertainment network of podcasts, written work, and video series called It's Been Done Presents. He's the chief television critic of seat42.com and a contributor to Blog Critics Magazine. Welcome to the show, James. How are you doing today?
Not bad. How about you?
Good, good. So give us some of your plugs so people look you up, and you're going to have to explain some of the details that I gave here as to what these things are, I suppose, in your bio.
Sure. Well, first, the website's iabdpresents.com is the main entertainment network website. It's all been done. radiohour.com has its own website if you want to look up Radio Hour, more information. And then, of course, the websites I write for, seat42f.com. If you go under TV reviews, they're pretty much all mine. I'm the chief TV critic there. And if you go to blogcritics.org, there are lots and lots of articles not by me, but under television, you'll find some by me as well.
All right. So what is the main scope of what you do? Like, are you a critic or a blog critic or an actor or?
So
I'm still lost.
Stuff I've been doing for 8 years. As a paid television critic, I've worked for a number of different websites. I've been with Seat42F for quite a while.
Okay.
Even longer.
Okay.
And so, you know, I get to watch the shows before the general public does a lot of times and write reviews, mainly just pilots these days because I'm so busy with all the It's All Been Done stuff. But yeah, pretty cool to do scripted drama reviews and comedy reviews.
Okay, so you do reviews and stuff like that of different, I guess, is it TV and movie, TV pilots?
Generally, it's TV reviews. I think most recently I did like Marvel's The Punisher and Runaways on Hulu. But sometimes I'll do some DVD sets, like The Vampire Diaries, the complete series was just released, so I reviewed that. I also just reviewed Jerome Bixby's The Man from Earth, which was a film. I don't get to do those very often, but they were putting out a special edition DVD, and I got to check that out. It was a pretty neat science fiction thing.
Cool, cool. So now there's another thing you do. So you're a television critic, and then there's another thing you do with the Radio Hour. What is that?
So It's All Been Done Radio Hour is a modern, geeky, scripted comedy in the style of old-timey radio serials. So basically, every month we perform an 80-minute show. The hour is misleading. It used to be an hour. Now it's 80 minutes long. And we do generally 4 brand new episodes from a stable of ongoing series. We've got 7 or 8 programs, and we pick 4 of them, do a brand new episode of them each in a given month, and then we record that and podcast it out. So my main job on that is I write most of the scripts. I do have some other people contributing some writing at this point. I used to just be all me, which is great. I love getting extra voices and the additional voices, you know. But yeah, it's a 80-page script that has to be written fresh every month.
Wow. And so you guys put this out across a podcast then?
Yeah, so we record it live in front of an audience at Mad Lab Theater in Columbus, Ohio. And then right now we're running about 9 months ahead. So if you've seen the live show, wait 9 months and it'll come out on the podcast feed.
Oh, wow. Okay. So the Mad Lab is a theater there in what city did you say?
Columbus, Ohio.
Columbus, Ohio. There you go. Cool. And how long you guys? What got you into this whole thing of becoming a television critic and writing scripts and doing this theater?
So I've long wanted to be a writer. I've written things since I was in elementary school. The TV critic thing was I had moved down to Lexington, Kentucky right after I got married for a couple of years. We lived down there, and I was looking for work. My wife had gotten a job, and that's why we moved. And as I was looking for work, I came across a website called amzn.to that was paying a few pennies for some television reviews. And I started doing that while I was substitute teaching and temping for different companies. And that, Examiner is a terrible site. I don't recommend it at all. But it was a good way to start getting work out there. And because of that, I was eventually recruited for other websites that are much better. Blog Critics is a terrific site with some really high quality content, and Seat 42F is a really neat entertainment site. So both of those, obviously, I really enjoy working for and cannot say enough good things about. But then, with the Radio Hour, after reviewing TV for a while, I'd written fiction before, but as much as it's fun to review other people's work, I started to want to write my own original work again, not just watch other people's stories. And I was looking for something to do, and came across a show called Thrilling Adventure Hour. Have you heard of them?
No.
So they were out of Los Angeles, California, and they had some well-known actors like Paul F. Tompkins, Paget Brewster, Nathan Fillion was a frequent guest star, Joshua Molina was in it, and they ran for 10 years. And what they did was old-timey radio serials on a monthly show, but their content was very dated on purpose. It was the style they were doing. It was new original programming. But they were coming to an end after 10 years of performances, and I was really enjoying their podcast. I started looking for other shows like them, and I couldn't find any. So then I thought, well, what if I write my own show in that format with completely different content from what they're doing, but I think what they were doing was really neat. If nobody else is doing it, that seemed like a good hole to kind of fill.
Yeah. Yeah. That's pretty cool. That's pretty interesting. You come across all sorts of different things on what you do. Kind of stumped it here. What to ask you? What are some things that we need to know more about you?
About me or about the show?
Or about the show. Let's talk about the show. Sure, yeah.
Well, the show, there's, like I said, there's a number of different programs that go on. So we've got a space adventure that's it's a comedy. It's all comedy. But we have a space adventure that's a little bit like classic Star Trek, with our own characters and our own adventures. We've got a superhero, which has a lot of alliteration in the top-notch Jangler. She fights crime in a tip town. We've got a post-apocalypse zombie dramedy. We've got a segment called Porn Star Detectives, that they're porn stars and they're detectives.
That's interesting.
Pretty self-explanatory. That one is a polarizing one, I would say. Yeah, I'd say that one,
it's a mystery.
Some people like it, some people hate it.
No one knows where it is.
I've never asked them to find that, but that could make a good episode.
So would you say that since they're porn detectives, you might call them short for porn dicks?
I guess you could. I mean, they don't have dicks; they're female. But yeah, I guess you could call them porn dicks. They probably like that term.
Hopefully, no one's checked. So yeah, porn detectives. Wow, I could do a bit on that for a while, I think.
Their cases are almost never on the porn set. It's just what they do on their off hours. Yeah.
Well, no. So yeah, give me that explanation, because that seems an interesting, fun point. So what do porn detectives do on your guys' show?
So Amber and Stacy were porn stars first, right out of high school, and they decided that they were wasting their smarts, as they say. So they wanted to try to solve cases, and they're not very good at it, and they have a hard time finding clients. But they generally stumble through them, and a lot of times the cases get solved.
So it's like a Laurel or Tom and Hardy, or Laurel and Hardy, Hardy Boys, only with porn stars, or whatever.
Yeah, I guess you could say that. Yeah. We definitely try to balance that out with our superhero is female-led as well. We don't want to be a sexist show. We want to balance
Sure,
out strong female characters too. So we have a little bit of everything in our show.
That's interesting. Okay.
And we also have some pretty ditzy male characters.
So now you said it's in Columbus, Ohio?
It is. Yeah, a lot of people are surprised that Columbus, Ohio has a booming theater community, but we really do.
Yeah. I mean, I've never been out to Ohio. You think of, really artsy places like LA for something like this. It's being a specialty town. But it's cool that you guys have that sort of thing out there.
Oh, yeah. I mean, Mad Lab Theater, where we perform, has been around for over 20 years, right in downtown Columbus. They only do original works. We're not official Mad Lab production, but they've been our home for most of our run, and we love them. But there's at least 15, 20 other theater troupes in town. There's probably 30 improv troupes in town. There's art galleries. There's all kinds of stuff going on in Columbus.
Wow. Who knew you guys had an interesting thing out there? So critics-wise, do you think TV shows are getting better, or are they getting more worse and cheesy and just rerunning the same old? Or what do you think? Where do you see as a TV critic TV shows going?
Well, we got both right now. I don't think it's an exaggeration when people call it the golden age of television, even as cliche as that sounds.
No?
Some of the best shows ever made are being made right now. Some of the best writers in the world are writing for television instead of novels or movies. You have seen a lot of Hollywood actors go to the small screen. There's a reason for that. But
now, are you referring to Netflix, and are you putting Netflix and Amazon in the small screen era?
Absolutely.
I'm not sure.
Hulu, finally.
Yeah, I mean, I've seen some really good programming on Netflix, Amazon, and Hulu. They almost need to be called the third screen. There needs to be the TV screen, and then I don't know. That's just my opinion.
I would say their competitors are probably HBO and AMC and FX, which are cable, but those three, HBO, FX, AMC, consistently turn out a lot of great programming too.
Yeah.
The traditional networks, Fox, ABC, CBS, NBC, they're dying. They have some good shows, but they've doubled down on crime procedurals and things that just are so.
Every other show is CSI.
Oh my God, I don't like crime procedurals. They're awful. Yeah, no, absolutely. And
you'd probably be on that one.
I don't hate the trend of rebooting. I mean, I like having Will and Grace back, but you can't do that with
that show. Friends. They're bringing Friends back, and everyone's going to be in a wheelchair in a rest home.
I don't mind that. I mean, Fuller House is terrible, but Girl Meets World was pretty good.
Jennifer Aniston won't have aged today, I'm sure. So
that's true. She's still beautiful.
God bless that woman. I love her.
Friends is funny because their cast has been pretty successful overall. I mean, I think they'd have a really hard time doing a comeback right now.
Yeah. There's a lot of, the TV, this is why I think they should be like a third category. The TV, or what people call the small screen, is just such bubblegum pop, annoying sitcoms that are just redundant. It's almost like they just go back and grab any old sitcom and use the same plot twist, and then from all the way back to Fonzie and Happy Days, and they just play it until they jump the shark, and then they call it. It's just, there's always the someone's pregnant in a car show, and they've got to have the baby and whatever on the way to the hospital. There's always. It just seems like it's just the same redundant thing with just different characters.
So there are certainly a ton of shows like that, but there's also original, really cool stuff. I'd say the most original sitcom right now on the regular television broadcast networks, NBC has a show called The Good Place that's set in the afterlife with Ted Danson and Kristen Bell. That's absolutely fantastic.
Oh, yeah. Well, you get those shows that really apply to I think the religious do well. There was Touched by an Angel that did really well for a lot of years. I've heard a lot of good stuff about The Good Place, and I haven't really known where it's being shown. But I suppose those are the good ones. But the sitcoms now, I mean, if it wasn't for the laugh track, they wouldn't survive. I mean, they really press that laugh track button hard.
It's funny because the most watched shows on television, other than The Walking Dead, which is a complete anomaly, are the CSIs and The Modern Family and The Big Bang Theory, those very formulaic things. But there are plenty of other options out there that don't have that laugh track and that are original and interesting and innovative.
Yeah, I mean, I've seen a lot of great shows on Amazon, Netflix,
Sure.
sort of good stuff. So what do you look at as a film critic? How do you approach a film or a TV show? What do you look at? What's in your box of taking it apart and deciding whether it's good, bad, ugly, or whatever?
I used to really break down the acting, not so much anymore, because at this point I feel like pretty much every show has a pretty solid cast. It's rare you get a show where you're like, oh, that actor doesn't belong on TV anymore. So now I more focus on the writing, which is my thing as well. Is the story original? Do they have something to say? Do they have a viewpoint? It doesn't have to be completely original if it's a new twist on something old, but I don't want just a retread. If you give me a crime procedural to review, more than likely it's going to get a terrible review. That's just because it's just repetitive, like you said, redundant. Yeah. But I think the name of the entertainment company I started kind of gives away part of my perspective. By saying it's all been done, I kind of acknowledge that it really has all been done, but it hasn't all been done the way I would do it. So we kind of take that, it's almost a cop-out to acknowledge that we may have things that retread something, but we're going to try to do it our own way as well.
It's all been done.
Absolutely.
Yeah, I mean, they were even doing jokes about Hollywood doing retreads back in the black and white era. So it's been going on for quite some time.
Yeah.
I'm hoping that they're talking now that Hollywood might go through a large revision of more females being welcome in the place, and hopefully maybe better scripts from females that do stuff. I don't know. There's a lot of great females directors and writers and everything else that have been on the Oscars. What do you think about what's going on in Hollywood, and is this going to have an impact of better scripts, better writing, better directed movies, maybe more women's input that would come from that?
Oh, absolutely. I mean, there are plenty of female-led shows, or not plenty of, but there's a number of female-led shows right now that are just wonderful. I mean, obviously, Shonda Rhimes is having a good time at the moment with all of her shows, and she has a lot of strong female characters. Orange is the New Black on Netflix, of course, is a very female-heavy show. The Unbreakable Kimmy Schmidt. House of Cards, I'm really looking forward to this season that they're writing off Kevin Spacey so early and letting Robin Wright handle the season. I'm kind of disappointed they said this is the final season. I hope they'll reconsider and let.
I think they will if it's a hit. I mean, if it definitely comes out well, I think it has serious potential. I'm definitely interested in what Robin Wright does. I'm kind of crossing my fingers she might be able to save the show.
Yeah,
I mean, she's
going to be friends.
Anyway. At the end of this recent season, she killed that guy, and she pretty much became Frank Jr. at that point.
I mean, she's always been formidable. The show just makes her second fiddle.
Yeah, and she just went right for, she just became his wife and all their evil glory. And so I think she can carry the gauntlet, or potentially we'll see.
Absolutely. One, it's interesting you bring up female writers. Mad Lab Theater that we perform at just did a season where it was all female playwrights and directors. So it's definitely something people are paying attention to, and at least in some places are really making efforts. And it was a really cool season. They did some neat productions.
Cool. So it seems pretty interesting. I hope that Hollywood can get better scripts, because I'm one of those people, probably like you, where I can go to the movies or a major show, and within 5-10 minutes I can tell you the plot line, where it's going to go, and how it's going to meander, and what the ending's going to be. I mean, most movies are good versus evil, and hopefully good wins at the end, unless it's a Quentin Tarantino movie, as someone said to me the other day. Then all bets are off. Or if it's the movie Seven with Brad Pitt and Morgan Freeman, all bets are off on the ending. But and sometimes those do make great movies. When evil wins, and you're stuck with that. What's the right word? When you're stuck in that. When you're stuck with dealing with the situation that, hey, in reality, sometimes good doesn't always win.
I think the 2016 election proved that.
That and whatever fallout may happen from that or North Korea may further prove that. So we'll just be like, no, as we burn in nuclear fire. That or, I don't know. So anyway, what other sort of future things do you see? Do you usually get along with the Oscar picks and the Academy Award picks, or do you find yourself usually against them or with them on their evaluations of great movies?
I mean, I'm much more TV than film guy, but
Okay.
I am terrible at predicting, and I think award shows for the most part are bullshit and political anyway.
Pat on the back.
Yeah. I mean, I really wish they'd do something to clean them up. I'll watch award shows for the host and fast forward through the speeches because I don't really care who wins. I would say, I mean, I think one thing that would improve them is they need to institute a rule, especially for television. Don't keep giving the Emmy to the same person year after year after year. Unless they do something really incredible, because generally all 5 finalists are worthy of that award. And when you get somebody like Bryan Cranston or Steve Carell or whoever who's great, but you get it year after year after year, I think it kind of kills the competition. Although
Maybe they need to make a rule that if you get it 1 year, you can't get it for another 2 years or something.
I think it would be fair to give it again, especially if it's a different character. If it's a different character, totally cool. But if it's the same character, you have to do something really spectacular, and it should be really hard to get that repeat. Of course, I think there should always be the Julia Louis-Dreyfus exception, because she somehow finds a way to top herself just about every year. But
She's a great actress, yeah.
Won enough awards, I see something that makes me go, okay, yeah, she deserves another one.
Yeah, she's a great actress. The what do you, I don't know if you want to get into this. I mean, this is kind of a sensitive subject, but do you have any thoughts you want to contribute to the Me Too and Hollywood thing that's going on right now?
I'm shocked at how prevalent it is, which is disappointing that I'm shocked. I feel like I should have known. A lot of people.
Well, it's quite a secret from a lot of people, even people that worked with Harvey Weinstein didn't know how deep the river ran, or at least that's what they're claiming.
Sure. I mean, and there were certainly plenty of people that did know and were complicit. I listened to your discussion last week, and you made some very interesting points.
Dominatrix?
The Dominatrix episode, yeah. Very interesting points about the people that knew the culture, knew the person. And that was something I hadn't thought a lot about, so I appreciated you discussing that.
Yeah, Hollywood, and there's a lot of casting couches on Hollywood
Sure.
to this day, and I'm sure there will be in the future. It's a very incestuous small group of people that, are run at the top of the Screen Actors Guild. I mean, if you look at the numbers of who makes the most money in the Screen Actors Guild of all the union members, I think it's like the top 1%, and then or 5%, and you go below that, and like it drops to everybody makes like 50 grand or something a year.
So sort of like the rest of America.
Yeah, it dropped. Yeah, there clearly is the thing, and it's a very incestuous thing, and we kind of have always had a romanticism with that, but I don't think we've always seen how the sausage is made. If you work with Hollywood producers and been in Hollywood and heard the stories and seen the things go on, yeah, I mean, you just know what's going on. There's guys, I don't know if it's still prevalent, but there used to be guys that would wait at the airport for the little girls to get off the Kansas airplane or train and figure out a way to hook them up and steal their youth. It's an ugly little town when it comes to it.
I mean, as much as I love television and stuff, there's a reason I'd rather stay in Columbus, Ohio, and something
so
here.
Stay on the other side of that silver screen, because the other side might not be so silver. I should write that down. In fact, it might be covered in Harvey Weinstein's jizz. But I said that on a live podcast. Welcome to the Jizz Show with Chris Voss and Harvey Weinstein. But yeah, it's kind of funny when he first got booted. He kind of acted like, well, I can go away for like a couple weeks and come back, and we'll just all say we're sorry. It's like, no, dude, you don't understand. You like raped people. You're like about as welcome in Hollywood as Bill Cosby is to, I don't know, a group of nuns. I don't know.
I mean, I'm glad that he's not welcome. A couple of years ago, he probably could have just gone away for a couple of weeks and it would have blown over. If we could extend that same standard to the White House, I'd be even happier. But
yeah. Me Too movement has to take out the president and remove him from office to really matter. I could be wrong. You're welcome to tell me what you think. But in my opinion, the Me Too movement really is about Donald Trump. He really caused this because he pushed it and he got awarded the highest office in the land. And, after the Women's March that you saw, I think it was the second or third day after his election where women were really upset. And I think this is part of that. Women have said they've had enough. They put their foot down, and rightly so. There's a lot of bad behavior that happens in the workplace. There's a lot of bad behavior that happens in a lot. Like a friend of mine recently on Facebook, she had a guy start texting her, and then when she said she wasn't really interested or kind of put him off because he wanted pictures, he just sent her a dick pic out of nowhere. And to me, that's just inappropriate behavior. I hate guys like that do that. Because they give the rest of us guys a bad name, and when everyone was talking to us, they're like, "Oh, I wonder when this guy is gonna go full jerk on me." No pun intended. So, so that just came right out, and probably did on the text message too. So, and what was funny was she outed him on Facebook. She put out his number and his name and his pictures, and she did cover the dick. She put a little thing of the dick so that she wasn't getting in trouble for sharing it. But I think more of that needs to go on. I think more and more of these guys need to get outed. I mean, Matt Lauer. I mean, there's his recent accuser I don't really agree with, where she's 20 years old and she fell in love with him and had an affair with him, and now she feels like she was manipulated. It takes two to tango. But where he had like a button under his desk where he locked the door and banged chicks in his office, okay, you're pushing it just a little too far, Matt. That's clearly sexually inappropriate behavior in your office.
Oh, absolutely. I mean, I don't even... The climate that he got away with that, and you see the clips they play of him, that it's very clear it wasn't that well kept of a secret, Yeah,
and I think he got away with a lot of it because he was good looking,
sure,
charming, and people liked him. What also bothers me about a lot of these guys who are going down is they're all freaking married, and they're freaks, and they're jerks, and they're dummies, and they're just these desperate married guys who are just trying to get laid any way possible because they've stepped into the marriage trap, and now they're all unhappy, and they're just trying to get laid from anybody. I mean, if you go to any singles website, like if I go on Match.com, I as a single guy have to compete with about 40% of the men that are on there who are married. And they're just hustling chicks like it's going out of style. Meanwhile, I'm just like, hey man, I'm single. I'm here for real.
Yeah. I mean,
so it's interesting to me. It's a lot of them. Matt Lauer was married. In fact, when he had this affair, I guess, with this 24-year-old girl, he'd just been married a few months. It's like, Jesus Christ, you're already that unhappy.
Yeah, I don't think you can blame the marriage itself for that when he's got that kind of behavior pattern. I think that's it's wrong with him.
Yeah, there's the old thing about cheating where your potential or ability to cheat is enhanced by how easily you can cheat, or I guess what your looks or what your modus of operandi is. And, a lot of these guys, they're doing this stuff at the office because they their wives think they're at work. They can't go bang a chick in the afternoon after work because they're supposed to be home with their wives. And their wives are going to be like, "Why aren't you here tonight?"
Sure.
You know, like, "Oh, I was having dinner with my assistant
Man,
at Shula restaurant."
I can't even imagine doing that in the workplace.
Yeah. In fact, when I lived in Utah, there's a giant cult church that's up there, and a lot of their members go down to the I believe it's the Hilton and the Marriott, and they bang escorts during the middle of the day, and they do it because their wives have no idea. The wives are sitting at home going, "Oh, they're at work working hard to make money for the family." Meanwhile, these guys are, taking double-hour lunch breaks to rub a knob off. And so, I don't know what to say about that other than I just hate the whole thing. It's just whatever. But that's why these guys are doing just these perverted things at work, is because it's the place where they're not at home, where wifey isn't watching, and they can try and get some side action going.
Yeah, that line of reasoning makes sense. Other than they shouldn't. I mean, I don't know.
They should get married.
Yeah.
But, if you can't stay loyal to your wife, you probably shouldn't be married. So don't be married. But then you get in the trap of having kids, and you're stuck with it all, and she's not. You're not getting laid because she's busy chasing kids around, and certainly you reach a point where you really don't. You're not that much into each other, but. Get a divorce, leave the marriage. I've been single all my life because I just knew what that trap was about. I'm not going to go for it because I'd be that guy in that trap going, I need to get laid by somebody. I mean, if you could be in a marriage and you're happy and maybe you're getting laid, maybe you're not, but you're happy and you're not grab-assing girls all over the planet, well, then I'm all for you. But, when you're Matt Lauer and you got a button under your desk for,
Yeah.
I wonder, I heard that story too, and I was thinking, I wonder if his secretary is ever going to come out, because his secretary had to always know.
Oh, absolutely.
Because after the girl would leave his office, she'd come in and be like, "It really smells like sex in here."
Mm-hmm.
And I'm not sure why. And this is the 50th time this month.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, everybody would notice in the workplace, especially the secretary.
She clearly had to know that there was a button under the thing. And you kind of have to wonder, who was at the Good Morning America? Shouldn't there have been somebody who, when the request came in that, hey, listen, maintenance, we need to put a button under Matt Lauer's desk so he can lock the door without getting up because he's got his pants off. Wouldn't that be something where somebody would be like, "Hey, maybe we should talk to management about this to get some clearance, because this is not going to end well."
If the request went through, it could have been he called maintenance for something totally innocent, and he's like, "Hey, while you're here,
here,
oh, okay,
down and lock the door.
You're Matt Lauer,
It was Matt Lauer. We do whatever Matt Lauer tells us. Especially after David Letterman had that thing where he had that private room up in his office or above his office or something where he could have his little affairs going on. He was another one. And I like David Letterman. He was just getting laid on the side. Good for him. But he wasn't taking advantage of anybody. He was probably using his power. I mean, they'd probably be calling for his resignation, David Letterman, now in these days with the Me Too thing. So what can you say? It's an interesting thing that's going on. I hope that it changes stuff. What we do need to also change is there was a reason in this country we had you had a certain time that you had to file charges and say that something was criminally done to you. I forget what it's called. Murder, of course, doesn't have one. But there's a certain time where if you don't report charges, they're quoted as being invalid. I mean, certainly a lot of Cosby's accusers can't bring a case, criminal or civil. I think they can bring civil, but it's criminal. They can't bring a criminal case against them because it's past the what is it? I forget the term.
Statute of limitations.
And the reason for those laws are that so both parties have the ability to bring witnesses and prove their case in court. And this new thing that we have where we just throw people away, whatever, and they don't really get a judge, jury, and stuff, is kind of a little, it kind of opens some really weird doors, some bad doors for us, I think.
I think that's a complicated issue. I mean, there's certainly good reasons why some people didn't come forward in certain times. But yes, the longer it is, the harder it is to prove. I do think severity should factor into it. And,
Yeah.
One person touching a butt is different than somebody raping people repeatedly in their office. And
when you have something like Bill Cosby, where you have like a busload of people showing up, or Weinstein, you have a busload of people showing up, you have a problem. Sure. But like Al Franken, some of Al Franken's stuff really was pushed. I mean, I watched a guy with an interview, and I don't know if she was trying to say that he touched her butt, but she's like, he put his arm around and touched my waist. And you're like, what? I mean, if touching your waist and putting your arm around someone in a photo, I've been guilty of sexual assault like 5,000 times in my life, probably including my own family.
Yeah, the Franken situation's tough because, I mean, obviously the incident with the picture and everything is completely inappropriate, but you also factor in intent, and he owned up and apologized sincerely, and not saying that excuses the behavior, but that's different than what some of these other things have been. And yeah, Franken's one that makes me sad that we lost, because I do think we need to keep severity in mind, and I'm not sure he had enough that he should have been forced out of his job at this point.
I think they should have at least had the Senate hearings and the investigative committee and had he should have had his day in court. In fact, now there are some senators retracting, asking him to resign and saying they need to rethink the whole thing. Yeah. So that should be interesting how that plays out. But all in all, for me, in the end, Donald Trump has to go. Because
Absolutely.
Donald Trump isn't taken out by the Me Too movement or some of the other activities that he's done. He sends forth such a powerful message that will override the Me Too movement in time, because every young boy, child grows up, and a lot of them don't know any better, and the president, he's the greatest man in the world. They don't know the nuances of human nature and issues like we do. Like you and I, we were probably growing up, they taught us about the president. There was this veil of the office where this president, the president's very powerful. And you assume that he's really smart, intelligent, and a really good person, which with Donald Trump would be far off. But these people grow up idolizing these guys, and kids in their mind, they're going to go, well, he got away with it, and they gave him the presidency. So,
yeah. I mean, I'd like to say, and I'd hope that he'd be the last person that gets away with it. It doesn't happen anymore. Of course, I don't want him to get away with it, but hopefully we've reached a turning point. But then again, look at what happened in Alabama. He won by 1 percentage point.
Yeah,
so
that was close.
People in Alabama were still like, we'll take the pedophile over the Democrat.
Well, more women need to show up, more minorities, more African-American women, and they did in Alabama, which is pretty amazing that they came out like that. I wasn't even expecting them to win, but they definitely need to show up for the 2018 and the 2020 elections, because that's where we really fell down and lost it to Trump. It was just amazing that what was even more amazing was that any woman would vote for him, for that matter, after he had the Hollywood Access tape. I mean, that was just
completely agree. And I mean, the thing that still boggles my mind a bit is all the people that voted for Obama and then voted for him. I guess they're just so fed up with the system that they're going to vote for anybody that might disrupt it. But there's got to be a common sense balance to that.
Well, there's no more common sense left in America. Common sense in America is oxymoron. So there you go. It seems like we're just getting dumber. I think we're paying the price for not spending money on education all these years and spending it for wars.
Let's just hope we don't turn into Idiocracy, that film.
Yeah, I think we'll bounce back. I think, as Obama said, it will zig and zag, and we'll zag back. I think Alabama's a good sign that people are going to make sure and show up at the polls and do stuff. But then again, you never know what these shenanigan boys are doing. I mean, they're still trying to jerry rig, gerrymandering districts. You know, they know that they don't want the poor and the destitute, and the minorities to show up because they know how those folks vote. And they don't want women showing up this time around, so I don't know what they're going to do. But they're certainly tearing apart women's rights when it comes down to it. I really feel bad for women. You know, the attacks on Planned Parenthood, attacks just across the board. I mean, this guy came out and said, you know, women need to go back in their kitchen and make me a sandwich, and they shouldn't be in the workplace. You know, he was very clear on what he said. It wasn't ambiguous where you're just like, well, I'm not sure what he really meant by that. I mean, if you watch Donald Trump on Howard Stern over the past 20 years, he wasn't ambiguous in any way about what he thought or what he did.
Sure.
So anyway, interesting discussion on Hollywood stuff. What anything else we need to cover, James?
I would just want to plug my network. It's All Been Done Presents. We've got about a dozen different podcast, written work, and video series programs. So there's some pretty neat things on there. I'd encourage you to check it out.
Sounds good. Sounds good. We'll check it out. All right. Well, appreciate you guys all tuning in. Thanks for being here, guys. You guys are always a wonderful audience. Be sure to go to iTunes and Google Play and subscribe. Be sure to tell your friends, neighbors, relatives, invite them to the show and to follow along. Go to youtube.com/Chris Voss. Hit that bell notification button so you can get all the notifications of the show. Thanks, James, for coming by the show, and we'll see you guys next time.
Thank you.
Bye-bye.